Call to order, Policy and Curriculum Committee. Also looking at new policies.
That's correct. We have 4 proposals for the committee this evening. First one is number 330, Curriculum Organization and Development. Mrs. Hoppy and I reviewed this extensively and are recommending some changes based on just changes, first off, in timelines. We feel that we can communicate with the committee and with the board by June 1st and have things in place before then. We also changed some of the verbiage of basically some of the curriculum topics or departments because those descriptions, I guess, have aged. I think is probably the best way to put it. So that would pretty much sum up the recommendation of the change in this policy. 1999 was the last time this policy was reviewed, so that's what's prompting the verbiage changes.
I did notice one thing that I guess I disagree with was to put in under B, 1B, assistant superintendent as opposed to the curriculum director.
Okay.
I think that should still be under curriculum director.
Okay.
So B should be
Just a slash. The position that would oversee this would be the curriculum director.
Right.
And whether that's combined or something, but the position itself, curriculum director should be the person in charge.
All right. We'll make that adjustment.
Under B, also under number 3, I wondered if that should read the assistant superintendent will facilitate meetings with the teachers who possess this versus just a meeting.
Yeah.
I figured it was.
Yeah, good suggestion.
And again, change to same thing there.
Okay. Thank you.
1BC. We go all the way down just before 2.
Yes.
The dent optional should have a line through it, but since it doesn't fit with the sentence above it, community representative, lined out, dent optional should be lined out.
Yep.
Point 2, following. It'll be the responsibility of the buildings to provide it. We should say it will be the responsibility of the building principals to provide. Buildings don't provide.
Okay.
Anyone else? Let's go on to the next one.
Thank you. The next one is a brand new policy. I was actually a little bit surprised that the district didn't have a policy related to ELL or the ESL program in place, and because we have been running such a program for several years, this was a policy taken from the WASD policy database that we subscribe to. And Mrs. Hoppy and I looked over this and are making this recommendation that it be added to our policy collection. Along with that, then, is the procedure, the guideline part that also goes with this. So this would be a new policy and guideline / procedure related to ELL.
The only question I had for the procedures for testing and assisting English language learners was under B, and then 2 was if we wanted to list the tests there of the access, if we think that would change at some point, if we want to just put some, like we did with the WPC or Smart Balance, we just want to put something there.
Sure.
Where are you doing?
Under B. And then
the guidelines page, the procedures section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next.
B2. And she's suggesting that we, instead of specifying the access test, which is a state mandated ESL test for those youngsters every year, that we just make it more generic. Is that?
Yeah.
Good idea.
I like that. Thank you.
While we're on that, I have a question on point 4. It says parents and guardians may also withdraw their child from offered supports and services at any time. Does the parent have the right to restrain our ability to educate our students?
With regard to ELL?
Yeah.
You still labeled it? I mean, you still...
Yeah.
they're still ELL students, but parents have a right to refuse service.
I have an example of a fellow that I was working with, and his children were being pushed into a kind of like Spanish immersion, and there they emphasized a lot of the Mexican history, and his kids were Puerto Rican. And so he says, I just want to be in with the rest of the English kids. So I think parents should always have the right.
Back to the opening page, the opening paragraph. Right in the middle of that paragraph, there's a sentence that says, it will enable them to function successful. We should change that to successfully.
So far on the policy page, I've got in the first paragraph change successful to successfully, and then in the guidelines/procedure section, B.2, make access more generic, such as state mandated assessments or something like that.
Anything else? All right. Next one.
The next one is 345.4, promotion and retention. The administrators and administrative team and I have been wrestling with this one for several months because the previous policy had really expired as far as practice and procedures. But it's still important for statute for each district to have a promotion retention practice in place for kindergarten to first grade because of state mandated testing, and also in order to enter first grade, you need to have successfully completed kindergarten, and then fourth grade and eighth grade, because of the, at one point, about 10, 15 years ago, the tests and stuff mandated by the states. So basically, this policy is a complete rewrite of our previous policy. It took out a lot of the dated procedures and language, again, taken from the WASB policy database as far as a selection. And it really pinpoints the things that the district must have in place related to promotion and retention.
And you specifically need to have kindergarten, fourth, and eighth grade?
Yes.
And not any of the other intermediate?
No.
I was wondering that when I read it. That's what I...
Again, it stems from the state assessment system that kids weren't ready to move on from fourth or eighth grade.
The only thing that I questioned was in 3, if there, and I don't know what the previously policy stated, but if there was a date that we wanted to notify parents that it's even being considered, you know, where it talks about they get to make a reasonable effort to involve the students' parents or guardians, but is there a time where, you know, February, maybe by February conference is when that you want to formally considering it, just so they can't be surprised and maybe put up some resistance or something?
That's a fair suggestion. Is that page 1, number 3? Is that
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know what that date would be. I mean, if you want to go back and talk to principals of what makes, that's great, but I'm not sure like the February conference date might be a time just to make sure the parents are informed that it's being considered.
Okay.
Any other members? I was surprised that it was only those 3 grade levels that were covered.
Yeah.
Okay. And
The last one this evening is 371 related to extracurricular pieces, and this particularly pertains to Fox River. So Mrs. Markle, Mr. Domboski, and I worked on this more so in separation dialogue through emails and those types of things. Essentially, we took things out that are outdated as far as language. We updated the numbers as far as the minimal amount of numbers. We eliminated sports that aren't in the program anymore here at the middle school level. And then the last piece, well, there's two pieces, I shouldn't say last piece yet. We changed some of the verbiage as far as if there is interest in starting or restarting an activity. And then the very last change relates to something we talked about last month, that if another coach needs to be hired, that's going to be based on the number of kids that have signed up, paid their fees, and also complete all that necessary paperwork. And we talked about some of that paperwork last month related to the head injury, concussion part, those types of things. On the back page then, basically we took out the $10 user fee. We'll just leave that more generic because there's a user fee, but rather than have a specific amount of policy, that just forces us to bring it back. We really don't have varsity sports here, so that word was taken out as well. And again, this policy hasn't been looked at since about, well, 15 years ago. So it's just time to talk about it.
I was kind of surprised at the participation rates from 14 down to 6 students for basketball.
Yeah, what that means is 6 kids would trigger another team. Because it's enough to put 5 people out on the floor, and then you still have someone sitting on the bench. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, or?
I was thinking of total numbers just to, are you saying that you would have a basketball activity if you only had 6 students?
Right. That's enough for one team. Mm-hmm.
Even if they can't play themselves, practice with themselves hardly?
Even if they what?
Can't hardly practice?
How do you practice against yourself if you only have 6?
Well, sure. I mean, you can do small types of things. I mean, you don't have to play full court the whole time stuff. I mean, we're working on skill development in middle school. Sure, lots of layups. You can still run at one basketball. You can run your plays at one basket. You can rotate a person. The coach can play with the defense.
Any other comments?
Yeah, it's low. I mean, one student gets hurt, and one kid gets winded and can't play, and you have to forfeit. What do you do? Got 6 people? Usually you're swapping kids out pretty fast. A lot of few rest here and there.
We've played with 6. I mean, I think the kids...
If you have to, yeah.
Right. I mean, I just would hate to cut a sport when you've got an interest that is enough for a team. So we've got enough for a team plus one person, and then we say, I'm sorry, we're not going to field the sport because we don't have 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got enough to field the team, and it's not about a winning record. We don't cut anybody. Everybody plays equal. It's about learning at the middle school. It's not a varsity sport. So
I stumbled on the bottom sentence on page 1 because we took it from the 8th day to the 2nd day of the activity, and then we say the ratio established on the 8th day. Why don't we just say the ratio established for the activity will be?
that shouldn't be.
Okay.
Shouldn't be.
You're right. I missed that.
Yeah. Good catch, Tom.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. That covers it.
Does. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Vote.
Tax finance?